If you are a Haitian immigrant living in the United States, or you know someone who is, what happened in the last few hours could completely change your future. A new U.S. immigration decision just came down that directly affects hundreds of thousands of people. And depending on your situation, you may need to act immediately. This isn't a routine update. This is an emergency level immigration alert. For months, Haitian Temporary Protected Status, TPS, was scheduled to end tonight at midnight. That would have meant more than 350,000 legal residents suddenly losing their right to live and work in America. Families would have been thrown into uncertainty. Jobs would have disappeared overnight. Entire communities would have been turned upside down. But at the very last moment, something dramatic happened. A federal judge stepped in and issued a ruling that just changed everything. And the impact of that decision goes far beyond one community. It affects immigration policy, work permits, deportation protections, and the legal status of thousands of people right now. So the big question is this: does this new ruling actually protect you? And if you're a TPS holder, what exactly should you be doing today to stay safe and protected? In the next few minutes, I'm going to break down exactly what just happened, what it means for you and your family, and the critical steps you need to take starting right now. Stay with me because this information could directly affect your legal status in the United States. Hi, I'm Timothy, and I bring you clear, accurate, and up-to-date U.S. immigration news so you're never left confused about where you stand. Immigration rules are changing faster than ever, and my goal is to help you understand them in plain, simple language without legal jargon or political noise. Today's update is one of the most important I've covered in a long time because we are dealing with a real deadline, a real court decision, and real consequences for real people. What happened today isn't speculation or rumor. It's official, it's legal, and it's already in effect. So let's walk through this step by step so you know exactly where things stand. For months, Haitian TPS holders have been living under a cloud of uncertainty. The Department of Homeland Security had announced that temporary protected status for Haiti would officially end on February 3, 2026 at 11:59 p.m. That meant that as of tonight, hundreds of thousands of people who have been living and working legally in the United States for years would suddenly lose their protections. Work permits would expire, legal status would vanish, and overnight, people who followed the rules would be placed at risk of detention and deportation. This wasn't a small administrative change. It was a decision that would have reshaped lives, families, and entire industries across America. But just hours before that deadline arrived, the story took a dramatic turn. A federal court stepped in with a last-minute ruling that has now paused everything. And that single decision has created relief, confusion, and a lot of urgent questions all at the same time. So let's go back for a moment and understand exactly what was supposed to happen today, and why this court intervention is such a massive development. To understand why today's ruling is so important, you first need to understand what temporary protected status actually is and what it means for the people who depend on it. TPS is a humanitarian immigration program created to protect people from countries that are facing extreme conditions like natural disasters, armed conflict, or other extraordinary crises. Instead of forcing people to return to unsafe or unstable environments, the United States allows them to remain here legally for a temporary period of time. That protection includes two critical benefits. First, TPS holders are shielded from deportation, and second, they are given legal authorization to work in the United States. For Haitian nationals, TPS has been a lifeline for many years. After devastating earthquakes, political instability, and ongoing humanitarian challenges in Haiti, multiple U.S. administrations, both Republican and Democratic, extended TPS protections so that Haitian families could remain safe and stable here in America. These are not recent arrivals. Many Haitian TPS holders have lived in the United States for a decade or more. They have built lives here. They have careers, homes, children in school, and deep roots in their communities. They pay taxes. They follow the law. They are part of the fabric of American society. But earlier this year, the Trump administration announced a major policy shift through Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. The government declared that Haddadi's TPS designation would be terminated. The official reasoning was that conditions in Haiti no longer justified the program, and that allowing Haitian nationals to remain temporarily in the United States was no longer in the national interest. That decision set a firm expiration date of February 3rd, 2026 at 11:59 p.m. Once that clock hit midnight, every Haitian TPS holder would have immediately lost their protected status. No grace period, no automatic extensions, just an abrupt legal cliff. For more than 350,000 people, it would have meant waking up tomorrow morning with no legal right to be in the country they have called home for years, and the consequences of that would have been enormous. Imagine this for a moment. A nurse who has worked legally in a hospital for 10 years suddenly loses her work authorization overnight. A construction worker who supports his family can no longer legally show up to his job. A home health aide caring for elderly Americans is told her employment papers are no longer valid. That was the reality Haitian TPS holders were facing. Entire sectors of the U.S. economy would have felt the impact almost immediately. Studies from immigration advocacy groups show that a large percentage of Haitian TPS holders work in essential industries: healthcare, elder care, hospitality, transportation, construction, food services. In cities like Miami, Orlando, New York, and Boston, Haitian workers make up a crucial part of the labor force. Economists warn that ending TPS would not only hurt families, it would also disrupt businesses, hospitals, and local economies that depend on these workers every single day. And beyond the economic damage, there was the human toll. These are parents with U.S.-born children, longtime community members, people who have done everything the law asked of them. Under the termination order, all of them would have been pushed into legal uncertainty overnight, suddenly vulnerable to immigration enforcement, despite having lived lawfully in the United States for years. That is why so many organizations, legal experts, and community leaders sounded the alarm as this deadline approached. They warned that ending Haitian TPS in this way would create chaos, fear, and instability on a massive scale. But just when it seemed like nothing could stop the termination from taking effect, the situation changed in a dramatic and unexpected way. Only hours before the midnight deadline, a federal court in Washington, D.C. stepped in. U.S. District Judge Ana C. Reyes reviewed an emergency legal challenge brought by immigration advocates and issued a powerful ruling that stopped the termination in its tracks. And that ruling is the reason we are having this conversation today. Instead of Haitian TPS protections ending tonight as planned, they have now been paused indefinitely while the courts conduct a full review of the case. In simple terms, the judge hit the brakes at the very last second. What was supposed to be the end of legal status for hundreds of thousands of people suddenly became a temporary lifeline instead. But as reassuring as that sounds, it also raises a new set of important questions. What exactly did the judge decide? How strong is this protection? And most importantly, what does it mean for you right now if you are a Haitian TPS holder? Let's talk about exactly what the federal judge decided, because this part is absolutely critical to understand. The ruling came from U.S. District Judge Ana C. Reyes in Washington, D.C., and it arrived just hours before the TPS deadline was set to expire. In her order, the judge didn't simply delay the termination for a few weeks or ask the government to reconsider. She issued what is known as a legal stay, meaning she officially froze the entire termination decision until the courts can fully review whether it was lawful in the first place. And the language she used was unusually strong and very clear. The judge wrote that during this day, the termination of Haitian TPS is null, void, and of no legal effect. In plain English, that means the government's plan to end TPS tonight has been completely paused. It cannot move forward. It cannot be enforced. And for now, it must be treated as if it never happened. That single sentence changes everything for Haitian TPS holders. Because the termination is on hold, all of the protections that existed before today remain in place. Work permits that were about to expire are still valid. Legal status continues. Protection from deportation remains intact. Employers can continue to hire TPS holders without interruption. Families do not suddenly have to fear losing their livelihoods tomorrow morning. The judge's order essentially pressed a giant pause button on what was about to become a nationwide crisis. And she made it very clear that this pause will remain in effect until the legal issues surrounding the termination are fully examined by the courts. But the ruling didn't just stop the termination. Judge Reyes also directly challenged the reasoning behind the administration's decision. In her written opinion, she acknowledged that the Secretary of Homeland Security does have the authority to make TPS determinations. However, she emphasized that this authority is not unlimited. She stated that government officials cannot simply make major decisions like this without solid legal justification, proper reasoning, and careful consideration of the real-world consequences. And according to the judge, the decision to end Haitian TPS raised serious legal and logical concerns. One of the most powerful parts of her opinion was the way she questioned the government's arguments. If the administration's concern is strain on the immigration system, she asked, then why would it make sense to turn hundreds of thousands of lawful immigrants into unlawful immigrants overnight? If the concern is protecting the economy, why would the government suddenly prevent employed tax-paying workers from legally working? And if the concern is reducing pressure on the healthcare system, why would officials strip legal status from people who are currently insured, working, and contributing members of society? These contradictions, the judge suggested, show that the decision to terminate TPS may not have been based on sound reasoning at all. This is why her ruling was so decisive. She essentially concluded that allowing the termination to move forward immediately would cause irreparable harm to hundreds of thousands of people before the courts even had a chance to determine whether the decision was lawful. And because of that, she ordered that everything remain exactly as it was until a full judicial review takes place. For Haitian families across the country, this was an enormous moment of relief. After months of fear and uncertainty, they were suddenly given breathing room. However, and this part is extremely important, the judge's ruling does not mean the danger is completely gone. It does not mean TPS for Haiti has been permanently saved. What it means is that the termination has been temporarily blocked while the legal battle continues. The Trump administration has already announced that it strongly disagrees with the decision and plans to appeal it potentially all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. So, while today's ruling is a major victory for TPS holders, it is not the final word. That brings us to the most urgent question of all. If you are a Haitian TPS holder watching right now, what does this actually mean for you starting today? The answer is both reassuring and complicated. First, the good news. As of this moment, your TPS status remains valid. Your employment authorization document, your EAD card, continues to be legally recognized. If you were worried about losing your job tomorrow because your work permit was set to expire, that threat has been lifted for now. You are still protected from detention and deportation based solely on your immigration status. In practical terms, life continues as it did before this termination announcement. But you cannot assume that this protection is permanent. The legal stay is temporary. Higher courts could change the outcome. Appeals could move quickly. The situation could shift again with very little warning. That is why the next steps you take right now are incredibly important. Relief is justified, but caution is still necessary. This moment requires attention, preparation, and smart action. And in the next section, I'm going to walk you through exactly what you should be doing immediately to protect yourself and your family while this legal fight plays out. So let's focus now on the practical side. If you are a Haitian TPS holder or you have a family member who is, what should you actually be doing right now? The most important thing to understand is this. Today's court decision gives you protection, but it also puts responsibility on you to stay organized, informed, and prepared. The worst thing anyone can do at this moment is assume everything is solved and simply ignore the situation. That would be a serious mistake. Instead, there are clear, concrete steps you should take starting immediately. First, make sure you have all of your TPS documentation in order. That means your TPS approval notices, your employment authorization card, any letters you have received from USCIS, and any previous renewal paperwork. Gather everything and keep it in one safe place. If possible, make both physical copies and digital backups. Scan your documents or take clear photos and store them on your phone or computer. In uncertain immigration times, having quick access to your paperwork can make a huge difference. Second, if you have not already done so, this is the moment to connect with a qualified immigration attorney or an accredited legal representative. Even though today's ruling is positive, your individual situation still matters. Every case is different. Some TPS holders may have additional immigration options available to them beyond TPS. Others may need help preparing for possible future changes. Many nonprofit organizations and community groups are already offering free or low-cost legal consultations specifically for Haitian TPS holders. Taking advantage of that help now can protect you later. Third, rely only on official information sources. This is extremely important. Whenever big immigration news breaks, social media fills up with rumors, half-truths, and outright misinformation. People share screenshots, fake legal advice, and confusing messages that spread fear and panic. Do not make decisions based on Facebook posts, WhatsApp messages, or something a friend of a friend told you. The only sources you should trust are official USCIS announcements, reputable immigration attorneys, and well-established advocacy organizations. Right now, the USCIS website has updated guidance confirming that Haitian TPS and related work permits remain valid because of the court order. Fourth, if you are currently employed, be prepared to communicate clearly with your employer. Some employers may have been expecting TPS to end tonight and may be confused about what happens next. You have the right to continue working under the court stay and your employment authorization remains valid. If your employer has questions, show them the official USCIS information explaining the extension of protections. Staying calm, professional, and informed can prevent unnecessary problems at work. Fifth, continue living your life normally but carefully. Avoid any legal trouble. Even small criminal issues or violations can complicate immigration matters, especially in today's enforcement climate. Follow the law. Keep records of your employment and maintain proof of your continuous residence in the United States. Things like rent receipts, utility bills, pay stubs, and tax returns are all important documents that can help show your long-term ties to the country if you ever need to prove them. And sixth, be very cautious about immigration scams. Unfortunately, moments like this bring out dishonest people who try to take advantage of fear. If anyone promises they can guarantee you permanent status, speed up your case for a special fee, or fix your immigration problems through shortcuts, be extremely careful. Only licensed attorneys and DOJ accredited representatives are legally allowed to give immigration advice. Protect yourself from fraud and never hand over money to someone who cannot prove they are qualified. Now, while all of this is happening, it's also important to understand the bigger picture. What we are seeing with Haitian TPS is not an isolated event. It is part of a much larger shift in U.S. immigration policy that has been unfolding throughout 2026. Over the past several months, the current administration has taken a much more aggressive approach to immigration enforcement and legal immigration programs. We have seen expanded travel bans affecting dozens of countries. We have seen new restrictions on visa processing. USCIS has paused or slowed applications from many parts of the world while conducting enhanced background checks. A new federal vetting center has even been created in Atlanta to increase scrutiny on immigration cases. At the same time, TPS designations for several other countries have also been targeted for termination. Somalia's TPS was ended with an effective date in March 2026. Ethiopia's TPS has been terminated as well. Venezuelan TPS holders have faced similar legal battles with court rulings temporarily blocking some of those terminations too. All of this shows a clear pattern. Humanitarian immigration programs that once seemed stable are now being challenged, restricted, or eliminated. And that is why today's Haitian TPS ruling is so significant. It is not just about one community. It is part of a nationwide struggle over the future of immigration policy in America. Across the country, we are also seeing increased immigration enforcement activity. Large-scale ICE operations have expanded in multiple cities. Communities like Minneapolis have experienced intense federal enforcement actions, leading to protests, fear, and uncertainty among immigrant families. Even people with legal status are feeling anxious about what might come next in this environment. Court decisions like today's have become one of the most important safeguards protecting immigrant communities. So, while this ruling brings relief, it also serves as a reminder. Immigration protections can change quickly, legal battles can shift overnight, and staying informed is more important now than ever before. That brings us to the next critical part of this story: what advocates are saying, what Congress is trying to do, and what political and legal fights are still ahead. While the legal fight played out in court, immigration advocates and community leaders were working around the clock to prevent exactly what almost happened today. The lawsuit that led to this ruling was brought forward by organizations like the Haitian Bridge Alliance, along with legal teams representing TPS holders who would have been directly harmed by the termination. After the judge issued her order, these groups called the decision a major victory for justice and common sense. They described it as recognition of the very real dangers Haitian families would face if they were suddenly forced to return to a country still struggling with political instability, economic hardship, and humanitarian crisis. For them, this was not just a legal case. It was a fight for the safety and dignity of hundreds of thousands of people. Members of Congress have also been pushing for a more permanent solution. One of the strongest voices on this issue has been Congresswoman Ayanna Presley, the co-chair of the House Haiti Caucus. She and several other lawmakers have argued that relying on temporary court orders is not enough. Instead, they want Congress to pass legislation that would formally extend TPS protections for Haiti for at least 3 more years. Presley recently introduced a measure designed to force a vote in the House of Representatives on a bill that would do exactly that. Her argument is simple and powerful. Extending TPS is not only the humane thing to do, it is also the practical thing to do. Haitian TPS holders are already working legally, paying taxes, caring for American seniors, and filling critical roles in hospitals, nursing homes, and businesses across the country. Removing them, she says, would hurt both families and the broader U.S. economy. But turning that proposal into law will not be easy. Under House rules, her effort requires what is called a discharge petition, which needs 218 signatures to force a vote. In today's deeply divided political climate, reaching that number is extremely difficult. So, while there is strong support from immigrant rights groups and many lawmakers, there is no guarantee that Congress will step in. For now, the fate of Haitian TPS remains primarily in the hands of the courts. On the other side of this debate, the administration continues to defend its decision to end TPS. Officials argue that temporary protected status was never meant to last forever, and that many TPS programs have been extended far beyond their original purpose. They claim that the immigration system must have what they call status integrity, meaning that temporary programs should not quietly become permanent. The Department of Homeland Security has pointed to internal data suggesting that some individuals with various immigration statuses cannot be located at their listed addresses, which they say raises concerns about compliance and enforcement. From the administration's perspective, tightening these programs is part of a broader effort to bring more control and order to the immigration system. This clash between humanitarian concerns and enforcement priorities is at the heart of today's crisis, and it helps explain why the judge's ruling was so significant. The court essentially said that before making such a massive decision affecting so many lives, the government must follow the law carefully and provide stronger justification than it has so far. That legal question will now be examined in much greater detail as the case moves forward. At this point, it's also important to step back for a moment and make sure everyone clearly understands how TPS works in general, because there is still a lot of confusion about the program. Temporary protected status is exactly what the name suggests: temporary. It does not automatically lead to a green card. It does not put someone on a direct path to U.S. citizenship. Instead, it is meant to be a short-term humanitarian protection for people who cannot safely return to their home country at a particular moment in time. When the Secretary of Homeland Security designates a country for TPS, nationals from that country who are already in the United States can apply. If they meet the requirements and pass background checks, they are allowed to stay legally and work legally for as long as the designation remains in effect. But the program must be reviewed periodically, and each administration has the power to extend it or to terminate it. That is why TPS has always been somewhat vulnerable to political change. One administration may see a need to keep protections in place, while another may decide those protections are no longer justified. For Haitian nationals, TPS has been renewed again and again because conditions in Haiti have remained unstable for years. Earthquakes, hurricanes, economic collapse, and political turmoil have made safe return extremely difficult. As a result, many Haitian TPS holders have ended up living in the United States far longer than anyone originally expected. Some arrived as young adults and are now raising American-born children. Others have spent most of their working lives here. That reality is what makes this issue so emotional and so complicated, and that is also why today's court ruling matters so much. It recognizes that behind every legal term and policy debate are real human beings with real lives. But as encouraging as this moment is, it does not change one basic fact. TPS remains temporary, and the legal battle is far from over. That is why the next steps you take personally are so important. In the following section, I'm going to give you a clear, detailed action plan to make sure you are protected no matter what happens next. Let's move now from the legal arguments to the most important part for you personally, the concrete steps every Haitian TPS holder should be taking right now. Because even though today's ruling brings relief, it does not remove uncertainty. And in moments like this, preparation is your strongest protection. So think of this as a practical survival checklist designed to help you stay safe and secure no matter what happens next. The very first step is simple but essential. Verify and organize your documents immediately. Pull out your employment authorization document, your TPS approval notices, and any letters you have ever received from USCIS. Check the dates carefully. Know exactly when your current work permit was issued and what the original expiration date says. Because of the court stay, those documents remain valid for now, but you should still have them ready and easily accessible at all times. Immigration situations can change quickly, and being able to prove your status at a moment's notice is more important than ever. Second, start building and maintaining clear proof of your life in the United States. Even though TPS is currently protected, it is always smart to document your continuous residence. Keep copies of rent receipts, lease agreements, utility bills, pay stubs, bank statements, medical records, and school records for your children. Save anything that shows you have been living and working here consistently. These records may never be needed, but if they are, having them organized can make a huge difference in protecting your future. Third, be ready for employment verification issues. Some employers may still be confused about what today's ruling means. If your workplace has questions about your legal ability to continue working, stay calm and professional. Show them the official USCIS guidance confirming that Haitian TPS and related work authorization remain valid because of the federal court order. You have the right to keep your job under this stay, and knowing how to explain that clearly can prevent unnecessary problems or misunderstandings. Fourth, avoid any kind of legal trouble. This might sound obvious, but it is incredibly important. Even minor criminal issues, things like driving offenses, unpaid tickets, or small violations, can complicate immigration matters later. In the current enforcement environment, staying completely within the law is one of the best ways to protect yourself. Do not give anyone a reason to question your eligibility or your character.